Hey guys and girls, Pokesing King here, back with another Flesh and Blood video. Sorry for the delay, it's been a little while since I've done a Fab video, but today we're going to do a recap of 2024, a year in Flesh and Blood. So we're going to go through some of the product releases, my thoughts, and kind of, what's really been happening with the game. So it's been a great year for Flesh and Blood. I remember saying early on, I think it was around February time, when Heavy Hitters came out and I went to Liverpool to the call-in. And I remember, having this conversation. I remember making videos and saying, this really does feel like it's going to be a great year for the game. The game has been going from strength to strength. And obviously, we had Heavy Hitters. We'll go through the products. So we had Heavy Hitters come out. We'll get the actual dates on. The Flesh and Blood website is really great for all the information. Obviously, Heavy Hitters came out in the 2nd of February. Set did really well. I think it was probably the first set in a while that collectors and players alike really got on with. And they kind of, both enjoyed it. We had, obviously, the Marvel Heroes. So it'd gone from Dusk Till Dawn, where we had the Marvel Angels. A really nice set. We obviously had the signed, serialized artist prints cards, but generally the set for a lot of people didn't go down amazingly. And of course we had Heavy Hitters. There's Warrior in there, there's Brute in there, and there's Guardian in there, and the set did really well. As I said, collectors and players, it felt like the start of Fab 3.0, which we'll kind of discuss more so in the rest of the video. But the Marvel Heroes is the main thing. We had the young and the adults, so it gave a lot more of a chase within the set, which I think people really enjoyed. You obviously had the non-Marvel versions in the set, you had the young and the adult, but having the Marvel versions as well, which was, a nice chase that a lot of people wanted. So obviously this came out in February. As I said, collectors and players alike. I remember being at the call in Liverpool. The consensus seemed really good. Everyone was very optimistic about Flesh and Blood this year. Finding that balance between collectors and players both engaging and enjoying the game, I think is really where you're going to win here. And I think, this year is the reason why things have done so well, is because they're kind of following that. We've done videos in the past, players, collectors, and investors, who's the most important. And it really comes down to that every piece of the puzzle is important. And, you have collectors who mass break product to try chase the top cards. So that means that there's more of the playables in circulation. They also are more likely to trade or buy the more expensive cards in sets off people, which enables people to, sell their expensive Marvel card they don't need or trade for another one, for one they do need, and obviously be able to buy playables, stuff like that. So that balance works really well. And obviously you need players, because if nobody plays a game, nobody needs the cards. So this set really found the really good medium there between both of them. So Heavy Hitters was great. We obviously had the start of the Armory decks this year as well. Sakayo was the first Armory deck that we had, which was, I think, in May. And then we had Part the Misfail. Fantastic set. Again, I was UK Games Expo when Misfail came out. That was a really enjoyable weekend. The display that Fab had was amazing. I'll try and include a photo up here. Really, really, really taken back by how amazing that looked, and everybody at the show agreed. People that didn't even heard of Flesh and Blood was like, that display over there looks amazing. What is that? Obviously they had the Ira decks there, and loads of people were getting involved in the game. Giving away free Ira decks, learning how to play, which was fantastic. We'll go to the other Armory decks. Obviously we had the Bolton Armory deck as well come out. Again, kind of building on this, these Armory decks are a really great addition to the product line that we had. It's something that we had been crying out for so long. We need a ready-to-play classic constructed deck that you can play at an Armory for a good price. And if you want, you can upgrade it. And that's literally what these provided. And they've done down really well. Some have done better than others, but for the most part, they've gone down really well. Obviously, we've had Azalea as well, the Armory deck Azalea. Azalea was a really popular hero, so that one did really well. And obviously we had Dash. I hadn't heard too much about the Dash one compared to the others. I don't know if it's just a lot of people that wanted to play Mech or Dash had already had their decks built. I'm not sure. And of course we ended with the Armory deck Origins, which was the Jarl, which is the, more premium edition, which comes with 23 Majestics, 1 Legendary, and, it's a brand new hero as well. Obviously, we had the other ones which were established heroes already, but this one was a brand new Ice Guardian. This, this for the game was really great because it brought Guardian cards started moving, Ice cards started moving. I remember seeing Stalagmite go mental, Heart of Ice went up. A lot of the Guardian cards from like Crucible of War, we had ones from Everfest, have, like Opposing Visage, have, done really well. And it creates kind of, the game itself is in such a healthy place compared to what it was a couple of years ago, where there wasn't really much of a balance. I've always said Fab 1.0 felt like it was for the collectors and investors, with a lot of the first edition stuff, a lot of the expensive stuff. Then Fab 2.0 felt more focused for players, or players enjoyed it more. And then Fab 3.0 feels like that really happy mix. And we can see that from what we've seen. And obviously we ended off things with Rosetta in terms of English release. Obviously Rosetta, the world premiere was in Japan. Absolutely amazing. It's the one I missed, unfortunately. I've kind of been there for, some of the events. The other ones this year, I was kind of there roughly around the release. And I will be at Prague for the world premiere of The Hunted, which will be fantastic. Again, 2025 looks like it's going to be an amazing year for Flesh and Blood again. But the game is really in a healthy... And I'm a single seller, so there's a good grasp of understanding of how the game's doing is to ask people that sell the cards, right? So sealed, I guess, is kind of a hard one because people will skip sets they don't want. But people are more likely to buy singles. Obviously, a lot of players don't crack tons of product. Singles for me in the last 6 months have been absolutely ridiculous. It has been my number one seller of TCGs. 2020, the last couple of years, there's been a lot of movements in terms of like One Piece and Pokemon and Lorcana, Star Wars. But Flesh and Blood for the last 6 months has been the best for me. I'd say since Mistveil, it's just been consistent. It has been really consistent. There's always announcements. There's always a new product release with the Armory decks, which I think that's great because you obviously have the 3 sets a year. But in between those gaps, we've got these Armory decks, which is also kind of moving the market, which is great because it means single sellers are going to do well and stores will do well as well that sell singles. And then it incentivizes people to crack product. And when you've got more people cracking product, you've got more circulation of singles hitting the market. So a lot of these playables that might be in sets that people don't open too much, there's going to be more on the market. Now, don't get me wrong, there are cards, like CNC that are still going up. E-Strike spiked again this year. Obviously, Art War got banned, so that crashed down. It's just it is the nature of the game. I don't know if they're going to reprint CNC. They might reprint CNC. I think that the Mastery Guardian set would be the perfect opportunity to print that because they said that everything in that set is going to be Guardian or generic that Guardians can use. But obviously, if it's generic, it's great. They could reprint that just in non-foil. CNC Rainbow Foil has started to spike now. I think the cheapest on TCG Player was about $300 over the Christmas period. I think highest sold was like a 180 or something. And then the other products we had as well come out. Obviously, we had the archive packs. So you had archive for Rosetta, Mistveil, and then you have the Mastery pack archive, which is the one that I think is like coincide. Is it gonna? So the language that comes out, that came out on the 20th, I believe. It actually is the website. I mean, it's on the Fab website, but it's actually in Japanese. I guess that kind of makes sense. But so you've had 3 archive sets, obviously. From what I understand, they're non-foil. They're like 5 packs a card. But it reintroduces a lot of singles, a lot of playables throughout the eras, meaning that the Japanese market have access to these cards in their own language, which makes total sense, which is great. Obviously, they did like Mask of Momentum, cards like Surgical Extraction. And then finally, the last product that we have is the First Strike decks. So the First Strike deck came out, I believe it was at like Gen Con or something. Where was it? It was over the summer, yeah. August 20. Yeah, Gen Con early access was Gen Con, so August the 1st. But their initial release was actually August 23rd. So these were another product to kind of replace the IRA. Even though you have to kind of buy them, they're not free. How much are they each? MSRP is $11.99, but they are in all of the languages. You've got Aurora and Terra. I haven't actually opened any of these myself, just because, like, for me, there's not really any need. But it's another product that enables people to learn how to play the game, which is great. So, it's First Strike is a fantastic stepping stone into the next major Flesh and Blood set of race. Rosetta, learn how to attack, defend, pitch, and harness Earth and Lightning just in time for the grand return to Candlehold. So, that was another product that's kind of enabling players to get into the game. I still think we need a proper replacement for IRA. IRA in Blitz is banned. It was LL even, sorry. But I don't know what they would do in terms of another product for that. But definitely I feel like something needs to replace the IRA decks. But I think because they've just got so many IRA decks out there, they're probably going to use them until they've all gone. I've got like 3 somewhere, and I've got 3 on my desk round here that just came in a collection that I picked up. So the IRA decks are just ridiculous. Obviously, stores have tons of them still. They actually did do Japanese print of the IRA as well, so which was quite interesting. But my predictions for the next year is I think the game's going to continually go up. I think we hit, 8th, I think it was, in TCG Player for 2024 in terms of sales, like 8th biggest TCG. I do think that it can hit top 7. I think any higher than that is going to be a struggle. Again, you are competing with these huge conglomerate IPs where these games are getting sold. Not only, obviously these are TCG Player, but the access that people have to these games is a lot higher than it is for Flesh and Blood. Remember, Flesh and Blood is sold at an LGS. You're not going to get it at Walmart. You're not going to get it at Target. You're not going to get it in Barnes and Nobles or, a card store or Game in the UK. Over here you can find cards everywhere. Like closed stores will sell Pokemon cards. You can find Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic at bookstores as well. I think Flesh and Blood would be great to see at a bookstore. Like Barnes and Nobles in America, like Waterstones over here in the UK. I'd like to see that. Or in Japan, stores like Book Off, for instance. I think would be a really good place to find Flesh and Blood. I think there's definitely more needs to be done from LSS. I get the LGS model, and I know that they want to maintain that, and that's what they want to build the game around, and they have done so successfully. But I feel like in terms of like the long-term growth of the game, I think the game's a niche, right? So the name Flesh and Blood as well is, obviously the game's meant to be played by, obviously, adults. It is a 16-plus game, but the name Flesh and Blood doesn't exactly roll off the tongue, and it's very gory. So already that kind of like creates a niche now. And then you've got TCGs, which TCGs are a niche. And then you've got a TCG that is not an IP, so another niche. So you've got a niche within a niche within a niche. And then not letting this, TCG sell in places where most people go to also creates another niche. Now, not everybody goes to an LGS. If a lot of people that consume TCGs are not going to an LGS. They'll never step foot in a card store. They might not have a card store near them, but they might not want to go to a card store. They might just want to pick up a couple of packs that's, convenient. So when they're doing their shopping in a supermarket, or when they go to a bookstore, or when they're going to a game store, to pick up video games and stuff, that's why you have, these other TCGs have done so well, because they were very aggressive with their marketing early on, making sure that everybody saw their product. You look at Magic, right? Obviously, they started off in a game store, and they've expanded. And I'm not saying Flesh and Blood needs to go down the route of Magic at all. If anything, it's had the opportunity to learn from Magic and make sure that it doesn't make the same mistakes, i.e., Amazon dumping. I think the incentive to support an LGS should be there still. Don't get me wrong. I think if an LGS gets boxes at a cheaper rate, which I know obviously buy box promos as well. Here in the UK, the box promos are just, I don't know. I haven't received any buy box promos since the early days, because issues with distribution is also another big issue here. Asmodee in the UK, for instance, the buy box promos seem to just not turn up, or they turn up really late after release, and they just send it to stores. But then it's like our store's going to have to go through and go, right, so-and-so bought this box, 2 months ago or whatever. They're not going to do that. And most people are going to buy on release. So there's an issue there with the buy box promos. And I think the organisation needs to be a bit better. It should come with the product. It shouldn't come after the product. I don't see any reason why that should happen. But they should incentivize it by having buy box promos, by having, LGS brick and mortar stores buy at a reduced rate. And then, places like bookstores and stuff and game stores, they, can pay a little bit more for a box and they don't get the buy box. At the end of the day, if you're going to go to your LGS because you want to play Flesh and Blood, that's probably where you're going to go buy your product from. But if you want to go to if you want to play, you play on Talishar, or you just like collecting, or maybe you just want to play with your mates, and there's not an LGS near you, might be a couple of hours drive. Are you going to drive just to buy a couple of packs of Flesh and Blood? Probably not. Okay, you might go in there in passing, but you were more likely to go get packs every week if you're going to go to Walmart or Target or, your bookstore or anywhere really like that. That's, or a toy store as well, Toys R Us technically does still kind of exist. But that really is kind of how I think the game should be going, the route I think it does. At the end of the day, we all love Flesh and Blood, and all we want is the game to succeed and flourish and do well. We want LSS to make money so they can reinvest in better products, bigger events, bigger prize pools, more global reach. But to do that, LSS make their money on selling boxes. And to sell more boxes, you need a wider reach. There are still so many stores around the world that don't have, a scene for Flesh and Blood, so they stop stocking it. The amount of stores, and I did a pretty good consensus over the last couple of years of visiting a lot of stores in the UK, at least. So many stores I spoke to said that they bought into Flesh and Blood early on, and they dropped it because they couldn't keep a scene up. Now, with Flesh and Blood, and I've talked about this on the channel before, you do need a local champion. You need someone that's going to put the time and the effort into ensuring that armories run smoothly. They do the sign-ups, they organise it all. If you don't have that, it's down to the store. And a lot of stores are not going to spend time doing this for Flesh and Blood for a game that doesn't have a huge IP, that might struggle to sell boxes, when they'll more likely put their money into buying things like Pokemon, Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh!, One Piece, Lorcana, Star Wars, games that are huge IPs that they know that product will sell more, rather than Flesh and Blood that sits on the shelves. Now, some areas are great. I always get this, and it's like, well, my local scene has 15 players. I'm not saying that nobody's playing the game. Obviously, loads of people playing the game. And I think more people are playing the game now than they were 12 months ago. But there are a lot of scenes that have died. There are a lot of people that have left the game because there's no local scene. They might have left because the game's too expensive, or they've just got lost interest, or, they want to play one game and games like Pokemon are cheaper or Lorcana's cheaper. But there are a lot of scenes that have died, and a lot of stores have stopped stocking Flesh and Blood. So we need to get people back into the game that have left, or people that haven't got in the game that aren't probably going to get in it through an LGS. And that'll be through other methods. So, that's, my suggestion anyway. At the end of the day, it's LSS, it's their company, it's James White's company. They've done a pretty good job this year. We've had 3 great sets come out. We've had, 5 Armory decks. We've had the First Strike, the Archive. We've had Japanese release. We've had sold out events, which is fantastic. So the game is doing well. People are happy. It's great. Very positive about the game. As I said early on in the year that the game was going to do really well this year. It has. I kind of think it's fired on all cylinders. But it doesn't mean there isn't suggestions, there isn't room for improvement. As I said, the game is still a niche. So looking in, obviously we've got the Hunted coming out in January. I think that's the 16th to the 19th. I hope anyway, because I've got my hotel and flights for then. We also got the Mastery Pack Guardian, which was pushed back. So where are we, the Hunted? It's got it up. It has at the top. The Hunted, January 31st, and the Hunted Blitz collection. Obviously, we've got all the Arachnes. We've got the Draconic heroes. The box just looks amazing. It really does look cool. So we got 1 Fable, 6 Legendary Standard, 42 Majestic, 66 Rares, 17 Marvels. The price has actually, in fact, gone up at distro for this. So MSRP is slightly more expensive. I think it's $10 more. Japanese language has 267 cards because it also includes Brave Force Bracers and Valiant Dynamo. Makes sense. They're both warrior. German, Italian, Spanish languages include English language cold foils. Interesting. I don't know if anyone's brought that up, actually. I don't know if anyone's read the fine print, but German, Italian, and Spanish, so not French, but German, Italian, and Spanish, their cold foils will be in English. I'm wondering if that's because people want the English for the higher rarities, because I guess people can play the non-cold foil versions anyway. So if they want to play a version in their language, they've got that. But I guess having a French cold foil, where a lot of the cold foils are worthless at this point, having it in French means it's worth even less. That's an interesting one, actually. That's pretty cool. Obviously, we've had the preview season. We've had trailers. We've got the world premiere for Hunted. I don't know if they've got anything actually on there about Prague. I've never been to Prague before, so I'm really excited. I guess it will update. Join us in Prague for the world premiere of The Hunted, taking place at the Expo Prague. Rip into 8 packs of the new set before competing for your share of gold foils, PTIs, and $20,000 in the call-in. Then wrap up the weekend with a chance at your share of $2,000 at the Battle Hardened. So I will be doing the call-in. I will be doing some of the other events for the promos and obviously the sealed event. So I should get about a box worth of packs to open. Now, they have announced that there won't be any packs or booster boxes on the prize wall for this. And moving forward, no world premiere set will have boosters or boxes on the wall. A lot of people are angry because they announced this, obviously, after everyone's bought their tickets and accommodation. A lot of people will be trying to open as much product as possible to play test before the actual events, or the actual set comes out. And obviously a lot of people just like cracking boxes. Now, I usually get packs on the prize wall because I never really win enough tickets to get anything decent. So I do actually think this is probably a bit of a bad idea. I don't think there's anything wrong with having packs and boxes on the prize wall. Obviously there's plenty of other things, but generally packs are one of the cheapest things. You can just get a couple of packs. That's what I've done at events, at least anyway. January 17th to the 19th, blah, blah, blah. So Friday's the world premiere of The Hunted. Then you've got the Super Armory, plus other events. Then Saturday's the call-in day 1. Then call-in day 2, plus top 8. The Hunted Booster Draft, Battle Hardened, which is the Hunted sealed deck. And then other events. So, interesting. The Hunted sealed deck, €60, no invitation, Swiss round, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so it'll be interesting. And then the Hunted World Premiere playmat plus promo card. Interesting. Yeah, I can't remember what the packages were, actually, honestly. I don't know if it has it on here. Yeah, I'm not sure it has what the packages are, but I bought the Fable package, so I think I can do a couple events. The call-in and a couple events or something. I think so the first is Stonewall Gauntlet Gold Foil. That's the number 1 prize. That's pretty cool. Trying to think where it says. I don't think it says about the promos. Social media. I don't know if it says anything on here, actually. No, that's just on Twitter. That's going to go on to X. But yeah, we've had an action-packed year of Flesh and Blood, and it's been amazing. So let me know your thoughts below. What is your favourite moment of 2024 for Flesh and Blood? I have so many, and Flesh and Blood actually asked this on their socials. Obviously, the call-in was fantastic in Liverpool. I had a really good time there with some great friends. Cuba, Tom, Tyler. We watched the Super Bowl, which was great. I had a really good time in Liverpool. I had some great food, great company, obviously. Sorry if I didn't mention your name. Ian as well, actually. I had to spend a lot of time with Ian. It was a really amazing event. Had a great time. And then UK Games Expo was great. There wasn't really many people that I knew there. I know obviously the LR, you know, Living Realms team, Ryan was there, Ollie was there, Fabio was there, I think. And then we had they're the two events I've done this year. I'm trying to make sure I haven't forgotten anything. Yeah, Miss Heavy Hitters. Yeah, they were the two events that I went to. I didn't go to many events this year for Flesh and Blood. I wanted to go to Amsterdam, and I wanted to go to, was it Leon? But I do a lot of other card shows and events for other TCGs like Pokemon, so kind of balance it all. But I will be at Prague. I will be at PT London, and I'm hoping to be at Worlds, which is going to be in America. We don't know yet where it's going to be in America. I'm hoping they announce soon so I can book my flights and hotels. But it'll be at a major city, I don't know. So it could be like Florida or like Chicago, maybe New York, Atlanta. But I'll be hoping to go to Worlds. And then if there's any other European events in the year, hopefully I'd like to do that. But I will be at Prague, so come say hi. You know, come have a chat about Flesh and Blood. But they're some of my favourite memories of the year. And let me know what you're excited for 2025. Any thoughts that you think Fab could improve on in the comments below. What do you think the game could do in 2025 that would be really exciting? Maybe a new product release. You know, maybe they could do Flesh and Blood tins. Just saying, Poker Tin King. I could be Fab Tin King. But yeah, let me know your thoughts below. And as always, hit that notification button to make sure you're updated whenever I upload. I upload very regularly. Think about becoming a member as well. We've got 7 members now. You get content 24 hours early, and then 2 exclusive member videos per month, which will include an update on, you know, the store, the content, but also I generally go through my collection pickups on my members only videos now. So the collection pickups for, you know, a lot of the Flesh and Blood collections that I buy, they're exclusively to members only. So if you want to see what I've been picking up and maybe potentially buy some of the cards before they go up for sale, think about becoming a member. It all supports me doing a lot of these events. Obviously, the more members I have, the more I can afford to do events, basically, because traveling is quite expensive. And, you know, obviously doing these events is great. I want to do them, but I kind of have to pick and choose what I do. And as always, have a great day.
My favorite moment in 2024 has got to be the It's Time to Not Stay Quiet About Flesh and Blood movement that was started by Jonah, and it was signal boosted by Stonkswell, where a bunch of individuals in the community, the content creators, but also just normal people in their normal rooms with their Flesh and Blood collections, just made quick videos talking about why they love Flesh and Blood and why they love their collections. And I think overall, collectors and high-end collectors get villainized in a lot of communities, and the voices of them are not very front and forward, right, as much as they should. And overall, it's great even just seeing my favorite videos were just people who don't content create normally and just made a video, and it was just so cool to see, especially because you talk to people in Discord and, you know, you have Discord conversations, but it's so much different when you hear their voice, see the video, and hear the different stories they have behind cards. And you hear that it's not the most expensive cards that were their favorite. It was the ones that were tied to stories, which were really beautiful. I love that series, man. And ultimately, I love seeing just various moments out there in the community of people coming together and content creating and collaborating, right? I feel like Flesh and Blood content creators are the best out there for collaborations, and I have loved to see it over the years. I feel like it's waned a little bit over the last year or so, but it's great seeing moments like these where content creators are coming together and building each other up instead of tearing each other down and being competitive. So really like video series like this one. Hope everyone has a great holiday season and Happy New Year.
Hi, I'm Liv, and my top Flesh and Blood moment of 2024 is actually a tie. First, when I was in Tokyo about to play the part the Mistveil world premiere, and I was seeing my friends from New Zealand for the first time since leaving, along with people from all around the world. It was incredibly surreal, and I will never forget that feeling of gratitude and excitement for the weekend. And of course, second is being welcomed into this amazing community with such open arms as a creator. I am super excited to see what 2025 brings.
Hey, what is up, good people? I'm Gaga from Seal Case here. So I wanted to give my top 3 moments in Fab for 2024. First is definitely for the pre-release of Mistveil. I got the random draw for the first gold pack. I was so excited. I'm all about the sealed product, and so getting that special sealed gold pack was just a great experience. Like Mistveil was just a great product, just play-wise and collector-wise. I loved it. Next big thing for me in 2024 was my goal for a while has to be to actually to win an Armory event, and this is very hard because all the players at my LGS are some of the country's best. But at the 5th anniversary event, I managed to go 4-0 on like a recursion list of Leviah, and that was very special to me. Of course, I was very lucky, but again, the W is W, so very glad about that. And lastly, for the first time, I was able to participate in a skirmish. I didn't make the top cut by a very small margin, but it was great just to compete, to see new people there. I keep seeing new people come into Flesh and Blood in Denmark, which is just amazing. The community is amazing, great people. So I just want to say thank you to everybody in the Danish community, and let's keep growing. And from me here, have a great new year.
Hey everyone, wishing you all the best in 2025. My favorite Flesh and Blood moment was the calling in Tampa, because I could finally meet all the fans and friends from the east coast of the USA.
Hi, I'm Rob Catton, and my best moment of 2024 was winning Battlehound Liverpool with Prism, giving her first Living Legend points and putting her on the map.
My Flesh and Blood highlight of 2024 has to be Pro Tour Amsterdam, despite getting COVID afterwards. But I signed up to the calling, and I've played a few callings so far in my Flesh and Blood career, which is coming up on 3.5-4 years, and I've never even gone positive records in any of them. Although then for the calling in Amsterdam, I started the tournament by losing my first 2 games. And to make day 2, I had to win the rest of the games. So I didn't go on to win the next game, the game after that, the game after that, the game after that. And I win all my games to the very last game, where I sit down to face Prism. And one of the games that I did lose at the start of the tournament was Prism. So I sit down, another Prism game. I'm super nervous. I'm super tense. I know this is my win and in to achieve something I've never achieved before. And I actually lost the first game because I made a pretty egregious mistake. And, you know, Prism is difficult to play against. She gets out of control very fast. I was on KO. I was literally on the edge of my seat, very nervous, and I get there. I win the game. I qualify for day 2. And it was like floating. It was awesome. Whenever you reach a new milestone, something you work towards, you know, it's like that feeling is really, really hard to replicate. At that point, it doesn't really matter what I did day 2, but I did end the tournament with a positive record, which is the first time I've ever done that. And there was so much awesome stuff that happened this year. I started creating content, started playing at a new LGS that has a very strong crowd now, met tons of great people, went to Japan. But I think when I'm going to think back on 2024, like that singular experience where I played the calling, I made day 2, I had a positive record, just that experience, that's what's going to stick with me. And I hope I can top this in 2025 by maybe going money or top 8. I'm going to try for certain at the calling in Prague first, at the world premiere of The Hunted, and then at the Pro Tour London as well.
Ludzie to aż tak otwierają, nie? No świetnie, nie mogę chwycić. Tak, tak i tak. Ale papierowe są te foliki, naprawdę.
Już zleżały troszkę. To jest alfa kodaczy.
Alfa kodaczy. No i mamy Scar for Scar. Miło, fajnie.
Miło, miło.
Dobra, to te miło... Właśnie, nie ma ręki teraz. Ale to położę może na tym. Single!
Dobrze jest.
Fajnie. Dobra, Demolition Crew, Nobody Cares. Nobody Cares.
Refraktory też są całkiem.
Może być. To jeszcze nie jest folia. A teraz chyba będzie folia, tak? Bo to
teraz jest
dwie
folia,
rerki
tak.
były.
Hi all, Tom here, or Sol on Discord and socials. Couple of big moments of 2024 for me that sort of stick out. One was as a collector. I achieved something that I would never achieve. I had always thought that this was one of my grail cards that I'd never achieve, but as I'm building out my Welcome to Wrath master set, probably got me one of these colorful tunics, beautiful card. The journey to getting this was filled with lessons learned and meeting new people. So I really appreciate everyone's advice and a big thank you. You know who you are. Secondly, was as a player of the game. So this is my first full year of playing Flesh and Blood, and somehow I managed to make it to Pro Tour Amsterdam with New. It was an amazing moment for me, and really, it was really solidified my confidence as a player. And my goal was, can we get to day 2? And we managed it. We smashed it, actually. So that was so much fun. Pro Tour Amsterdam was one of the biggest moments for me. Good drinks, good food, good friends, great event. And I can't wait for Pro Tour London 2025. So I'm really looking forward to that. Well, I hope you all can have an amazing 2025. Focus and collect your passions and make time for others, of course. Thanks.
Hey guys, it's Alex straight from IKEA in Germany. Flesh and Blood highlights of 2024, there were definitely quite a few, but I have to say the one that comes to my mind at first is commentating the German nationals. Shout out to Heiner from the White Rabbit who made that possible. And definitely Rosetta Limited format was one of my highlights too. I played a lot of Rosetta Limited at my local game store. And also, I have to say, one of my highlights was seeing Rob Cadden draft Verdance, my all-time favorite draft hero from Rosetta, at the World Championship in Osaka. And then also, I have to say, the Pro Tour in Amsterdam was one of my highlights from this year. Seeing, all of the international Flesh and Blood people and friends again. That was such a great time. There were also a lot more, but I think that's it for me, and wish you all a good new year.
Favorite Flesh and Blood moments of 2024? Probably the growth in our local gaming community. The way camaraderie in our LGS grew. Everyone was there more for each other than for signing cards, which is great. If we're going down the road of physical releases, would have to be Rosetta. Definitely the best hero of the year, Florian, by far.